And there it is. It is happening. What we talked about all week has now become reality. Steve Wiltfong just broke the news. As you can see, my man is still busy working. You guys are here because you know what just happened. Number one quarterback Jared Curtis has flipped his commitment from Georgia to Vanderbilt. This is historic stuff right here. Jared Curtis is the number one quarterback in America, number 3 prospect overall. He's committed to Georgia twice this cycle. Yes, he's already committed to Georgia twice, but the third is a flip to Vanderbilt. And Steve, you broke the news 24 hours before signing day. Take us behind the scenes of this one.
Well, it's been trending for the Commodores since he took that visit for the win over Mizzou, ESPN game day in Nashville. But Jared Curtis visited Vanderbilt twice before that, attended practice, did meetings with Coach Beck and the coaching staff, spent time with Clark Lee and the Commodores, got around the players. Diego Pavia went to one of his games. They high-fived after a touchdown in the third quarter of that ball game, connecting with the players, seeing this program on the rise. Now, there were some boxes that needed to be checked after that. Clark Lee needed to sign an extension with Vanderbilt to get this thing done. And Jared Curtis and his camp knew that if Clark Lee signed an extension with Vanderbilt, he wasn't doing it for his own personal wealth and job security. It was because he knew that the program was investing in Vanderbilt football to build a consistent winner, to give them the support and resources needed to compete in the SEC and beyond. So once Jared Curtis saw that Clark Lee's extension went through, which then keeps Tim Beck, the offensive coordinator, in place, that intensified this recruitment, a couple more meetings to dot some I's, cross some T's, and now Jared Curtis, the number one quarterback in the country, becomes the best high school quarterback to commit to Vanderbilt since Jay Cutler.
Wow, this is a shocker. I mean, we had heard the rumors, right, Steve? The timelines had shifted. Originally, he was going to make his announcement on Friday, a day after his state championship game, which he'd likely win, becoming back-to-back state championship quarterback. He was all set to make that decision on Friday. Then yesterday, we got news. Another announcement's coming. Jared Curtis moves that decision date up to Wednesday. Steve, any idea why it all went down today? What was kind of the catalyst to this?
Well, I just think Jared knew what he was going to do. And now he gets to play his state championship clean. Kind of talked about that on the Andy and Ari show before we went live here. If he didn't commit before the state title game would almost take a back seat to what's Jared Curtis's final decision going to be. Is he going to stick with Georgia or is he going to go to Vandy? I think obviously, again, dotting those I's, crossing those T's behind the scenes, having to call the Georgia staff. Look, he committed to the Bulldogs twice. A lot of love for Georgia. But one of the things that became very important for Jared Curtis as it came time to put pen to paper is he wants to play as a true freshman. He has never sat a starting quarterback, a 4-year starter at Nashville Christian. Georgia, the best they could do is, hey, compete for quarterback 2. And if we're blowing some people out, maybe you'll get on the field because Gunnar Stockton's coming back. Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, Heisman candidate, lighting it up as a thrower and a runner in an exciting style of offense. There is an opportunity to be quarterback 1 right out the gate for Vanderbilt. And if you watch the way that Jared Curtis plays on Friday nights, it looks a lot like Diego Pavia on Saturday. He's a gunslinger. He's running, extending plays, running people over, throwing on the run, can really make that throw downfield. So the opportunity to play early, Clark Lee's extension, the support and resources being poured into Vanderbilt football, staying close to home. Those are the things that led to Vanderbilt landing him. And those resources that we're talking about, you got to have resources to land the number one quarterback in the country.
This was a modern recruitment in some ways, right?
And I don't think he went to the highest bidder. Like, he wants to be happy with where he's going to play college football. Georgia committed to twice. He had some amazing opportunities on the table to play for some great programs elsewhere. Playing early within an offense that he feels like he can be prolific, close to his family, whether that was in Athens or obviously down the road in Nashville. Those were the important parts. When you're the number one quarterback in the country, you're a 5-star. you're going to get that other advantageous infrastructure of a modern recruitment.
Man, so the flip goes down today. And first of all, let's get some anchors in the chat. Anchor down. We want to see all the anchors in the chat of this video. This is huge news, historic news. So being that it's a day before signing day, do you think this sends a message to other Vanderbilt recruits that are maybe on the fence right now that, hey, I better get in the boat? We already got Jared Curtis.
Well, they have a chance to finish strong on the trail in 2026. Carter Gooden's a 4-star edge rusher out there. Maybe they got some irons in the fire with some other 2026s. Chad Simmons, our colleague, reported yesterday that Vanderbilt, the staff, was indicating to top recruits, hey, we're going to get Curtis. This thing is just getting started around here. Amari Sanders, one of the top linebacker, safety, rover types in 2027, is already committed. And that's where you're really going to see this thing start to resonate. Vanderbilt's season, 10-2. Maybe they get in the college football playoff. Now you have the momentum of Jared Curtis committed. This is the stuff that's going to pop for the next wave, guys that are juniors that are going to have junior days, spring visits coming up, going into their summer official visits. That's where this season's really going to resonate. Now, this season, if they don't go 10-2, if Diego Pavia is not a Heisman candidate, if Clark Lee doesn't extend, if there's not a chance to play early, they don't get Jared Curtis. But all the stars aligned. And again, best quarterback to commit to Vanderbilt since Jay Cutler.
So when did this start percolating on your radar? Because obviously, Jared Curtis came off that first commitment to Georgia, said he wanted to take some visits and make a better informed decision. He did that. I believe what did it come in August? Was it that Jared Curtis committed to Georgia for the second time? When did the rumors of Vanderbilt really hit your radar?
Well, for me, when I really started to believe that it was real, was leading into that Missouri game. Now, obviously, the wheels were in motion behind the scenes before that because he took 2 visits. Publicly, it was known that he took 1 visit, but he took 2. And knowing that those visits were getting in there and talking offense, getting around the coaching staff, those were real visits. And that's why I initially said, this is real. Vanderbilt has a pulse.
Right.
But things needed to develop. So it was easy, Clark Lee needed to sign his extension. And while most people assumed that because it was his alma mater, they would get this discount to keep him, he was in the mix for other jobs. And had Vanderbilt not shown to him that we're going to give you the resources to compete at the highest level of the SEC, he could be someone that is at a different SEC school right now. And so you couldn't project Jared Curtis to Vanderbilt until you started checking all those boxes. Now you could say, hey, maybe I think Clark Lee's going to sign. So with that, I think Jared Curtis is going to go there, which is what we were saying, but the prediction went in. The article originally came out, things intensify with Jared Curtis. And once Clark Lee signed his extension, to an hour later, this dude's going to go there. We're putting in the prediction, he's going to go there. But recruiting is so fickle, so fluid that even when you think something's going on, if they are having dialogue with other people, it could always change on a dime again. So you have to, in recruiting, you can't speak in absolutes for the most part. And I guarantee it was very hard for Jared Curtis to call Coach Smart and Coach Pobo and tell him, look, I'm not coming. I'm going to do my thing somewhere else, because Georgia did check a lot of boxes for him. He had a lot of love for Georgia. The consistency, championship level program, the type of dudes they would have put around him, spent a lot of time in Athens between the hedges, committed to him twice, picked Georgia over Oregon the second time, picked Georgia over Ohio State the first time. So things changed. You get new information. We talked about that yesterday on Whip on Whip Around. He had different information to digest as this process continued, and it came up Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Proud of the way that you handled this. I know getting that information out first, it's never easy when you're taking on everybody that, all the Georgia fans don't want to believe what's happening. Whereas you were really from the beginning, just reporting on factual things like a visit. You weren't interpreting this as anything more than Vanderbilt has a pulse. But then, like you said, the dominoes start falling. I think, you mentioned, the Clark Lee extension was really maybe the catalyst to saying, okay, Clark's here long term. Everything's lining up with what I heard. Now it's just a matter of going behind the scenes and figuring out what's he telling Georgia. And Georgia was in contact with them really all the way up until today?
Yeah. And
I mean, Rusty, this isn't a situation where like he just stopped talking to Georgia.
And Rusty Manziel and myself were reporting that dialogue was still positive with Georgia, because who knows when he like absolutely just said, all right, I'm doing it, even though he was leaning Vanderbilt behind the scenes for a couple weeks. And college football, like, what if Vanderbilt would have lost on Saturday to Tennessee 35-10? You know, there's all kinds of things that can just change a recruitment, that it's hard to speak in absolutes. You just keep saying, hey, I like Vanderbilt's position. My prediction's in on Vanderbilt. But as long as you're still talking to Georgia, and as long as there's still time to fumble, whether that's not playing well or not getting the offer right where you need it or whatever. So Vanderbilt got it done. Pavia played great in Neyland Stadium, and Jared Curtis wants to take the baton from Pavia next season. Yeah,
man, just amazing. And, you know, if you guys were here following it along on this YouTube channel, you saw it the whole way. I mean, Steve kind of laid it out from that first visit to campus during the season, to the games, to what was happening behind the scenes. And now here we are. Jared Curtis is going to be, I mean, is he expected to be Vanderbilt's starting quarterback next season when it rolls around?
Well, he'll have a chance to see the field early, which is one of the things that he wanted most. Right?
Would you say that was probably the biggest factor in this recruitment?
It was for sure the early playing time. Yeah, that was the biggest box that Vanderbilt checked that Georgia just couldn't check.
But I think the relationships made it really hard for him to make this on-field decision. This was more of an on-field decision.
Yeah, but I think he made a business decision from the sense of he didn't want to sit. I want to play early. I want to get film early. I want to get in an offense where I can be productive. My game style is similar to Pavia's. Coach Beck, I can see myself flourishing in his system. It was more the minutia. Once he made up his mind that he wanted to go to Vanderbilt, then he had to be certain about the minutia. You can't commit to Vanderbilt before Clark Lee signs an extension, and then he can't come to terms, and he's the next coach at Penn State, and you're already out at Georgia, a place that you love. You know, so boxes needed to be checked. They're all checked. And he is a Commodore, and he can go play for another state championship this Thursday wearing a Vanderbilt towel, Vanderbilt gloves, Vanderbilt hat, whatever he wants. And it's behind him. And the main story now on Thursday will be the state championship. And the main story today, Josh, Vanderbilt, Clark Lee flips the number one ranked quarterback in country.
America. Yeah, you guys talk to us. How shocking is this in terms of flips? I mean, it is a historic flip. Whether it's the biggest one ever, that will be determined. We'll continue to talk about that. But this is not only a shocker, but something unprecedented that we have not seen. Vanderbilt flipping not only just a 5-star, but the number one quarterback in America. Yes, they flipped him from Georgia, but Jared Curtis had offers from coast to coast, whether it be Miami, USC, Texas, Oregon was in there very heavily for a period of time. But now Jared Curtis makes that decision. It's Vanderbilt. You guys talk to us. Comment section below. Steve, like I said, congratulations on this one. You nailed it. Anything else you want to just tell fans before we get out of here? This is a breaking news live. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you hit subscribe. Steve, what else do we got here?
Look, Rivals on 3. That's the platform to be for your recruiting information. So hit that subscribe button on your computer and on this YouTube channel.
Yeah, incredible day here at the Rivals Recruit channel. We will be going live in about 2 hours for another show. We're going to have Rusty Manziel. We're going to talk a little Georgia, see what, hey, Georgia's now got to pick up the pieces, see what they do. Any moves to be made, maybe not, maybe it's a transfer portal deal. But thanks for stopping by this live event, this live breaking news event. You guys talk to us, comment section below. We will see you soon.